Hi everybody. Yesterday we talked about auxin, which was the first plant hormone discovered. Since auxin, though, there's been several other plant hormones that have been discovered that affect the way that plants respond to the environment and affect the way that plants grow. So we're going to be talking about some of these other plant hormones today. The first of these plant hormones is something called cytokine. Cytokine is produced in the roots of the plant. Now, just like auxins, it has several different effects on different parts of the plant. One of the things that it does is it promotes cell division. So it causes the cells to divide rapidly, right? Which will cause the growth of new stems. It also inhibits cell elongation. If you remember, one of auxin's main effects was that it promoted cell elongation. Essentially, cytokines are like the opposite of auxin. Auxins are produced at the tip, cytokines are produced at the root. Right? So, auxins promote cell elongation, cytokines promote cell division. Right? So the two hormones will kind of cancel each other out if they're in equal concentrations within the plant. The next hormone I want to talk about is a plant hormone called ethylene. And ethylene is produced mostly in the fruits of the plant, but it's also produced in some of like the old flowers and leaves of the plant. And this is basically an aging hormone, right? It speeds up the aging process for plants. Now, this hormone's a little bit unusual because it's the only hormone that is not a chemical that travels inside the plant, but a gas, right? That's released outside of the plant. Right? However, it is a very important hormone because we use ethylene to kind of control the ripening of fruits. Right? For a while, you couldn't get like tomatoes like out of season in the grocery store, right? So like tomatoes always come into season in the summer, right? But if you go to any grocery store across America, you can find a perfectly ripened red tomato in the middle of winter. It's like, how do they get this ripened red tomato? Well, the trick is that they pick all the tomatoes when they're green and unripe, and they store them in a facility, like the special warehouse that has this ventilation, and they're constantly pumping out ethylene gas that these unripe tomatoes are emitting, right? Therefore, preventing them from ripening any further. Now, when the store needs more red tomatoes, like in the middle of winter, right before those tomatoes get shipped out, they kind of reverse the vents. And now, instead of sucking all the ethylene out of the room, they pump that room full of ethylene gas, right? And that causes all of those green tomatoes to turn red and ripen very, very quickly. Right? And then they ship them off to the grocery stores, and that's how we get ripe fruit during basically any season, right? This hormone is also used to kind of, cause unneeded parts of the plants to fall off. We're talking about like the leaves in autumn for certain plants, or the flower petals after pollination. So they are removed through ethylene gas as well. The next hormone I want to talk about are gibberellins. So gibberellin is produced in the apical meristem, the growing tip of each root and stem. And what they do, and you can see this in the picture on the right side here, is that when you treat a plant with gibberellin, it causes very, very rapid stem elongation. Alright, so over here we have cabbage plants, right? These first two cabbage plants right here are kind of like normal cabbage plants, and they weren't treated with any gibberellins. However, these last three were treated, and the stem of the cabbage plant, which is normally very, very short, kind of shoots up, and it grows very, very tall very, very quickly. Now, if you're a cabbage farmer, you prefer to grow cabbages that look like this, these two on the left, rather than these really tall things, right, on the right. In fact, when a plant produces excessive amounts of gibberellins and has this pattern of growth where it shoots up to the sky very, very quickly, they call it foolish seedling disease, right? The farmers thought it was so foolish for a plant to grow so tall so fast just to be knocked over by the slightest wind and end up dying. So, even though they cause rapid growth, it's not very, very healthy growth, and therefore, gibberellins aren't used in agriculture much to kind of control plant growth. However, there is one useful aspect to this hormone, and that's that it ends seed dormancy. So if you spray gibberellins on some seeds, it will cause them to germinate much faster. Right, and that is useful in agriculture, so we will use gibberellins in that aspect. The final hormone I want to talk about is abscisic acid, or ABA. Right? This is produced by the seeds, and this has kind of the opposite effects of gibberellins, where gibberellins cause this rapid growth. ABA prevents the plants from growing. Right? Gibberellins cause seed germination. This causes seed dormancy and prevents germination. ABA is essentially a stress hormone for the plants. Right? In this diagram that we see right here, this picture, we have two identical plants. They're both poinsettias. Right? Both plants went 11 days without water. However, the plant on the right, at the beginning of that 11-day period, was treated with ABA. Right? Therefore, all of its stomata is closed, and it was able to conserve all the water that it had in its tissues. Right? This plant wasn't treated with ABA, therefore it left its stomata open and was losing water at the beginning of this drought period. By the time it realized it should close its stomata, it had already lost too much water, and therefore it didn't have enough turgor pressure and started to wilt. Alright guys, that's it for today's lesson. Thank you.